Hey, it's King McKay. Last episode of Vikings, episode 13, was absolutely incredible. We got the story finally kicking off, with Ragnar and Ivar really connecting, the conflict in Kattegat really hitting off, and this great relationship between Bjorn and Rollo, where it's just so Viking. But now we're going to look into the episode 14 preview breakdown and see what we can see from that. So as we expected, Ragnar is captured immediately upon him, understanding who he was and why he's there, and seeing he's alone and unarmed. And so they're clearly going to move that quite fast on. He's given himself up on purpose. But Ivar, the one who's kind of off the side, no one's really focusing on, he's just like on throwing it back, then he's the one that they should be truly worrying about, but they don't even have their eye on him. I really want to see the kind of things he'll have to do and the way he has to use his ability to be able to manipulate and use the guards and the people who underestimate him to be able to free Ragnar, or at least get some men out there to do some damage. I thought this season might be the big season where like the huge invasion of the Danish forces from history we know arrives in England, and we see some of that in the very first trailer, that there's some quite big fighting between large Viking forces and some English forces, but I don't know if it's going to be quite late in the season or pretty soon. I'm expecting it'll be quite late in the season and might have to go back to either Kattegat or somewhere else in the Viking kingdoms before they return with this army. Speaking of Kattegat,
you're a witch. I didn't take your husband. He chose to be with me, and I've dreamed of taking back my home. You shall have back your hearth and home.
Okay, so clearly the tension here is building more and more. Aslar's gonna try and go with a route where she uses the public opinion and this whole debate type style, where she uses her ability of authority, well, because she knows that you can't overwhelm her in force. If you just went out there and tried to fight her off, she'd definitely lose. But this way, she could make her own men see that she doesn't have a legitimate right to the place, and will only give back that tiny little farm that burnt down ages ago. I still would like to see like this one-on-one combat between them personally, but I don't feel like it's going to happen, mainly because Asla doesn't have the strength and fighting capabilities to even match Lagertha in any way, shape or form. But it will be interesting to see how the people react that are left here. Remember, most of the fighting men of Kattegat left with Bjorn, or at least Ragnar, and so there's hardly anyone left in Kattegat to support her really, but it's the own men of Lagertha, who are still Viking and still understand Viking lore, that Aslar has to either try to convince or win over to do something else that wouldn't just lead to her getting exiled or killed. So hopefully we get to discover more of that next episode.
Why have you taken so long to return?
It's part of a larger and bolder strategy.
Okay, straight away, this is probably the best route he could have gone down, to be honest. If you're alone in enemy territory, and you get caught and you got no real wiggle room, nothing that you can use to save yourself, pretending that there's some big large force that's also coming in that he's just like the precursor to, is a really good way to give himself some bargaining chip and power when he has none. Whether King Egbert believes him or not is a different thing entirely. He has this obsession over Ragnar and believes him to be a lot greater than he really is, so I feel like he may fall for it, but just on basic standards, maybe not. But King Egbert has always had this reflection of kind of curiosity, as Ragnar always had. Ragnar was always there to meet the people and the places, what they did, and then use that to exploit to get his fame and victory. And King Egbert also uses kind of diagnosis of other people's mental states and their cultures to help him rise as well. So it's quite interesting to see these parallels between the two characters, and that's why they always get along so well and always have this really strange relationship.
You are the most dangerous man on this earth. Don't be afraid.
Okay, before we get into the actual scene, they get that flickering thing that you like to do in all these trailers at the very start. It's not fire-related this time, but what we get is Ragnar and King Egbert looking back and forward at each other with this tense kind of relationship and trying to sum up each other's state of mind and what they're thinking. And there's a shot of Ragnar in this bedroom that seems to be quite English-made. It's got a nice feather bed that's quite double-sided, very much not a Viking bed, so he's kind of probably getting kept as an honoured guest within the castle somewhere. So King Egbert's treating him pretty well because he wants to understand what Ragnar's doing, and whether he's lying or not about that invasion and bigger, larger strategy they're doing. So you see, again, King Odin is testing, summing up, poking and prodding, seeing how Ragnar reacts to him being unlocked, different situations like that. And it's going to be this really tense kind of mental battle plus physical intimidation between them to see who breaks first or who can understand what about the other characters, to see whether they're telling the truth or not, and how they can use them or find out what their plans are. And the ironic part is, he calls Ragnar the most dangerous person in the world. but there's a crippled boy locked up in some jail cell somewhere around this castle that he's not even thinking of, who might actually be the most dangerous person in the world. Okay, so that's the episode 14 Bravery Breakdown for Vikings. It was pretty awesome. I can't wait for next episode. This season is getting better and better every episode. Love to see what they do next. Also, I have heard all your amazing comments about how you want more content related to Vikings, how you want reviews and stuff like that. Some of you even like putting multiple comments saying the same thing, you want reviews. So, I will be doing a review for episode 13, and that will be my test review episode. I'll put it out, see how you guys like it, how you react to it. And if you guys don't want it or you don't really care about it that much, then I won't carry it on. That will just be the one-off one. So we'll see what happens there, and hopefully I can put out reviews for every episode from now on if you guys really enjoy that. Baba Booey.